This is Chip Maxwell, and you're listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. Is it possible to go beyond standard 401k contribution limits at a certain age? With the kids all grown up and self-sufficient, what should we expect to drive our spending in retirement? And what is the difference between a Roth account and a designated Roth account? David Brooks has answers to these questions in today's Q&A episode. Into the Q&A we go. David, the first question is about a 401k. I'm 59 and I want to max out my 401k. Aren't there ways to go beyond the regular contribution limits when you hit certain ages?
So yes, in your 401k in 2025, I believe you can defer or put in even to the Roth side, which we might recommend, $23,500. But once you hit age 50, you get a big catch-up contribution of $7,000. So you can actually end up doing over $30,000. And now what's new is over 60, an additional catch-up contribution. So I think you can take that total up to a little over $11,000 in additional contributions on top of the base. So you can get close to $35,000 deferred into your 401k. On top of that, there's what's called a 412 limit. If your plan allows after-tax contributions, and not a lot of them do, but if it does, you can actually put up to 25% of your pay all the way up to over $60,000 into that plan. And that after-tax contribution, if you do it correctly, will then roll into a Roth IRA and never be taxed in your retirement. So you can, if you have the ability to do it, not all plans allow that, you can sock away quite a bit of money if that's what you choose to do.
Boy, maximize those advantages. Wow. All right, next question, David. Retirement budgeting. The nest is empty. My wife and I are in our early 60s, and we're starting to focus on retirement. Our children are self-sufficient, so we just have ourselves to worry about. Over the decades, our budget has been driven by raising our children. With them gone, we're thinking our expenses will be minimal. But I imagine we need to recalibrate our thinking. What should we expect to drive our spending in retirement?
It's a great question, and it's an important exercise to do because exactly once you kind of get to the empty nest syndrome and you're in retirement, the main thing we got to look at is what kind of debt service do you still have, if any? Do you have a mortgage, right? Do you still have to pay somebody? Are you obligated every month? Once you're debt free, really your spending is just going to be whatever it is that's required for your standard of living. Your household expenses, property taxes and insurance, et cetera, your grocery bill, and your medical expenses. Is really important you understand how big those can be. So when you mentioned in your 60s, well, most people are going to be on their workplace retirement health care until they're 65 and typically going to roll over to Medicare. But according to Fidelity, you're up to $343,000 per person that you're going to spend on out-of-pocket health care in your retirement. So that's quite a bit of dollars that you're going to have to spend. You want to make sure you're budgeting properly for your out-of-pocket expenses pre-65 and post-65 for what Medicare will not pick up and what you have to pay to access Medicare. Other than that, we like to front-load the income plan, Chip, for what we call the bucket list items. The go-go years are very real. So while you have the day you retire, you have the best financial ability, mental ability, and physical ability you're most likely going to have in your retirement. So if there's things you want to do, world travel, for instance, I like to travel, or you just, whatever it is your hobbies are, you should plan to do those so that you can figure out what the budget tells you you're going to spend. And some people, we can't get some clients to spend their money. I literally arm wrestle people at the conference table every year. Please spend some of this money. Your kids will, but you need to have a plan. That's the prudent thing is that you need to have a plan and know what an inflation-adjusted income plan looks like on paper and where you're going to pull that income from.
Well, you get the plan written down, and then you can go for it in the go-go years. Because you know the slow-go and no-go years are taken care of, so you can go ahead and enjoy those go-go years.
Absolutely. And depending on the resources you have at hand and the tax planning that's been done for you, one of the things we pride ourselves on is proactively tax planning. We don't want you to have to take income. So we want to give you the freedom and liberty. So what if you did not have to take RMDs and your retirement accounts could grow, but then you wanted to take a big chunk out? Well, what if you could do that tax-free? Well, with proper planning, you can. So if you wanted to do a around the world cruise. We had a client that did one of those 180-day cruises. It was not a cheap cruise, you can imagine, but it was an amazing experience. This person saved up her whole life for, but it was a big tax-free distribution. We paid for the cruise with one check. And you just want to know what you can spend, what do you want to do, and then you'll have your regular budget items. But again, that's why working with a good independent fiduciary-based planner that knows how to income plan, tax plan, and asset allocate your dollars in a way that's appropriate for what you're going to do. And then you can know. And it's a great confidence builder when you know.
David, you mentioned Roth accounts, and the next question is about the designated Roth account. I hear you talk a lot about Roth accounts. What's the difference between a regular Roth account and a designated Roth account?
So, look, the Roth accounts come in different versions. When it's designated to who you are. Then you have designated beneficiaries. There's really primarily no difference. There's Roth 401ks, Roth 403bs, etc. The rules to know when it comes to anything that says Roth is if you follow the rules, okay, and you get it into a Roth IRA. So if you have Roth money at a 401k or 403b, a workplace retirement account, those dollars will roll most likely into a Roth IRA once you leave your employer and are retired. You must have a Roth IRA, Chip, established for 5 years and be over 59 and a half when you take money out. And if those two things to be true, the distribution should be tax-free. Now, if you don't have a Roth IRA started, we highly recommend you start one. Just put $500 in a Roth IRA because you start the 5-year clock immediately. Even if you're 53, you start that 5-year clock. Now, if you're 60 years old and you've never had a Roth IRA and you're going to retire now and you're going to open your first Roth, when you convert money from an IRA or 401k into that Roth, you may take that money immediately tax-free because you've just paid the tax on it. You cannot touch the gains if you don't have the 5-year clock started. That's why it's important to understand you've got to get a Roth IRA open as soon as possible. And again, it's confusing, but that's why you work with professionals that understand all the rules.
Well, weren't you and Colin Kastrick in the previous segment just saying you don't know what you don't know? So this
Absolutely.
is an example where a little professional advice might help you maximize your advantages, your options there. Thank you for listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. If you want to learn how to generate lifetime income, reduce your tax bill, and maintain your lifestyle in retirement, visit retiresmartpodcast.com. And make sure to subscribe to keep up with new episodes every week.